guys and welcome. I'm Megan Putney from mindingmysoul.com, and today I'm going to take you through a short tutorial on brewing your own kombucha at home. So this video is going to cover part one of the two-part brewing process, which is setting up your tea with the culture for its first fermentation. So before we get started, let's kind of go over some of the ingredients you're going to need for brewing your own kombucha. So first and foremost is you need a SCOBY, which is a symbiotic culture of bacteria and yeast. And your SCOBY is essentially the powerhouse of this whole process. This is what's going to end up fermenting your tea. Next, you're also going to need cane sugar. You can use raw cane sugar or white cane sugar. I don't necessarily recommend using alternatives. I haven't tried so far. I've seen things online that say you can use honey or maple or other types of sugar. But keep in mind that honey and maple have their own enzymes, and that can kind of interfere with the fermentation process. So I usually just recommend using organic white or raw cane sugar. You're also going to need black or green caffeinated tea. You just need to make sure that the tea is caffeinated, unsweetened, and unflavored. Flavored teas have oils on them, and that can also just kind of mess up the brewing process. And then the last thing you're going to need is 12 cups of filtered water. So you're going to use 4 of it to brew your tea, which I already have the water going to boil, and then you're going to use the other 8 to kind of cool the mixture back down before you leave it to ferment. Let's go over some of the equipment you're going to need for brewing your own kombucha. So you're going to need a small pot for boiling your hot water. You're going to need a reusable tea bag for brewing your tea. If you don't have one of these, what you can do is take a flour sack towel and put your tea in the towel and kind of rubber band it shut for the brewing process. These are really cheap to get, and like I said, it's reusable, so then you don't have to throw it in the trash. You're going to need a giant jar for brewing the kombucha. This recipe is going to make about a gallon, a little bit less of tea, so a gallon size jar or larger would be the best option. And that's it. Alright, so let's get started. For starters, you're going to boil 4 cups of water. To save time, I already boiled the water, so I'm now just going to remove it from the heat. And I'll take my reusable tea bag, and we're going to place 3 tablespoons of your black tea into the bag. So typically I use either oolong or English breakfast tea. Today I'm going to use English breakfast tea. Like I said in the beginning, it's really important that you're not using a tea that has any oils or flavoring to it, because that can interfere with the fermentation. Okay, so 3 tablespoons of the tea. We're just going to throw it into hot water and cover. So anytime you're brewing any tea, it's important to cover the tea because that protects all of the natural oils that the tea is going to be giving off. Alright, so we're just going to set a timer for 10 minutes and we'll wait, and then we will move on to step 2. Okay, so once we let the tea sit for 10 minutes, we'll remove the lid, and carefully, without burning your fingers, you're going to just kind of make sure all of the remaining liquid is out of the tea bag. Okay, next we're going to add 1 cup of sugar to the hot tea mixture. And we'll stir that in just until it dissolves. So it usually dissolves in about 30 seconds or so. Once all of the sugar has dissolved, you're going to carefully pour this sweet tea mixture into your giant jar. Now we're going to take the 8 cups of filtered water we have, and add it to this jar. So adding this cold water to the liquid is going to be what brings it back down to a good temperature for the SCOBY. I didn't mention before, but if you can get a candy thermometer or an adhesive thermometer, it can help you make sure that the tea is at a good temperature for brewing. If you're taking the hot brewing tea and adding it to 8 cups of cold water, it should make it to the right temperature. But if you just want to use a temperature gauge in the beginning to just make sure you're hitting that target, it can be really helpful. So I'm going to take my spoon, stir the cold tea into the hot, and just wait a second and see what my temperature gauge reads. So we want the tea to be between 68 and 86 degrees Fahrenheit. A lot of times when I add that in, it's right at the 86. If that's the case, I would just wait about 10 minutes or so before adding your SCOBY. So whether your SCOBY is brand new or you've had it saved from a previous batch, it should be in about 1 to 2 cups of starter liquid. So when we add the SCOBY to our tea, we'll also be adding the starter liquid. This helps just make the tea a favorable environment for our SCOBY to thrive. So I always, before I add it, just give another couple stirs to make sure the temperature isn't going up above where it should be. Usually it is good. So then we'll carefully add the liquid and the SCOBY. It's going to splash. So usually when you add the SCOBY, the weight is going to end up making your tea come close to the full gallon mark. And just give a gentle stir. You really don't need to do too much once it's in there. And then you'll take a piece of cloth, cover the top, and just seal it off with a rubber band. And that's it. Now you're just going to store it in a spot out of direct sunlight with a decent amount of airflow, and it should be a nice climate controlled area. Typically, our houses are the perfect temperature for brewing kombucha, as they're usually in that 68 to 72 degree range. So you let the kombucha sit for 7 to 9 days before checking it. At this time, you're going to see a cream colored layer on the top, which is going to be your new culture for the next time you brew. At this point, you can do a taste test. I like to just use like an eyedropper to draw some out and give it a sample. I like mine a little bit more tart, so I tend to let it go for another week after that point. Kombucha can be brewed for up to 21 days before you start your second fermentation. At this point, then, is when we will work on bottling and flavoring the kombucha, which I will go over with you in the next video. So that's it. If you have any questions, please leave me a question in the comments or connect with me on my website, mindingmysoul.com, and I really hope you enjoyed this tutorial.